Well, Kamran Bokhari is the Director of Analytical Development at the Newlines Institute for Strategy and Policy and joins us now from Washington, D.C. And what do you make of these conflicting reports that we're receiving out of Panjshir Valley?
Look, I think that the situation is pretty unclear. Nothing can be confirmed at this point. But one thing, that stands out to me is that if the Taliban really wanted to take this area, they do have the forces to do so. I mean, we have to remember that they took over all of the country except for Panjshir in a matter of 9 days. So clearly, they're not really putting, deploying all their resources to retaking Panjshir, which then tells me that they're still holding out for some form of a negotiated settlement or are trying to sort of divide those within Panjshir. So perhaps the Masood family from, former Vice President Amrullah Saleh, or some, at least getting as many people to defect and no longer resist them. So that's my read right now.
OK, I mean, what might a negotiated settlement look like?
Well, clearly, it hasn't happened because the Masouds and those who are asking for a share of the future political pie are not getting what they want from the Taliban. And the Taliban are calculating that, let me back up and say the Taliban have to share, the political pie with so many factions that they can only give so much. So I think that it's a case of, divergence of expectations, if you will.
I mean, you mentioned the sort of different ethnic groups, the different factions. Does Panjshir tell us that there is resistance to the Taliban's total control of the country and that groups like this might pose a problem for any future Taliban government?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, it's just the Panjshiris. We have to remember one thing, that most of the places that the Taliban took over were the result of a decline of combat by forces there. And so a large number of troops and policemen who were part of the old security system just went home or stepped aside and allowed the Taliban to come in. They didn't actually fight. And if, the momentum builds up, let's say Panjshir holds out and this becomes an intractable problem for the Taliban, then you could expect to see other, factions and warlords in different parts of the country try to join this. But it's too early to say. Right now, I think that this is more, I'm pretty convinced this is more about a power-sharing settlement than anything else. Yes, there may be hardline elements on the side of the resistance in Panjshir who don't want a share of Taliban power, and there's that disagreement as well. Again, because we don't have a whole lot of information, I'm having to speculate and go off of very little intelligence, if you will.
Sure, we understand. As always, Kamran Bokhari, thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate it.